Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about something that Wuthering Waves, um, for the mobile version, we're going to talk about that one for the next update for 2.0. We're going to see that. So we're going to talk about this. So if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell for every upload that I upload to the channel. Let's get this started. No, that wasn't it. It was this one. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, they got all this stuff with four-star weapons, 5-star weapons. Like, they got so much in here. All right. The pre-download for the PC version for Wuthering Waves for 2.0 update, 60 gigs of storage needs to be updated for this game, but it does have decompression for installing, so which is good. So it'll update to 60 gigs and then it'll drop. It'll decompression it, so it'll drop under 60. Um, which is good, but also 60 gigs is enormous for the next update for Wuthering Waves. I mean, to be honest, that's huge. 60 gigs for an update. That's quite massive. I ain't gonna lie. But we have the device requirement updates for the next update for the mobile version for Wuthering Waves, and 25 gigs for Android and iOS devices. Wow, 25 gigs is pretty big, and to be honest with you, I want to talk about this because there's a way to update 25 gigs on Android devices. There's a way to do it, especially if you have a phone that is 64 gigs eternal storage. There's one way to update Wuthering Waves with 25 gigs. Is the only way to do that is by an SD card. You need an SD card that is 32 gigs at least or more. And what you do is you transfer the game to the SD card and you update it from there. And then you when you're done, you can send the game back to your eternal storage. But I would say do it from the APK version because you can do it in the APK. So I would say do it in an APK way. But let's say if you're trying to update the game for 25 gigs from Google Play for Wuthering Waves Mobile, you can still try the same method, but I don't know if they'll work. But some devices cannot move game files from Google Play to the SD card. Some phones can't do that, but some phones can. It just depends what device you have. But personally, for me, I don't have to do the transfer to SD card to update the game. I got 128 gigs of storage. I'm fine. I got room for 25 gigs. So I'm perfectly safe about that. But it still sucks that PC players have to update the game to 60 gigs, which is quite freaking enormous, man. But I mean, it is what it is, but it's going to take a long time. And For Android, it doesn't really take too long to update the game. I would say at least update within 2 hours, maybe. But unless your internet is fast, like you're using Wi-Fi, then 25 gigs is like nothing. Some phones are like that, but then again, it's like 25 gigs isn't too bad. You know what? It could be good because if you really think about it, they could be um, they can give maxed out optimization to the game. Um, some enormous improvements to the game because remember this is a 2.0 update. We're going from 1.4 to 2.0 on January 2nd for Wuthering Waves. And for 25 gigs for Android, I mean, maybe that's good because if you really think about it, it could be a huge improvement to the game because it could be enormous optimization. It could be other improvements to the game. It could be performance increased. Never know. Um, I know 25 gigs seems to be a little bit too much. It's kind of crazy. I understand that. But then again, 25 gigs isn't that bad. It's not that bad. It could I think it's only bad if your phone's internal storage is like 16 gigs or let's say 64 or 32 or something like that, then you may have a problem. But if you have a phone that it has 128 gigs, I think you're fine for 25 gigs of the update. That's not bad, but it is quite large. 25 gigs is quite large, but hey, Genshin Impact is 33 gigs on mobile. That's pretty bad. But for Withering Waves to have 25 gigs, that's not bad. That's slightly better than Genshin because Genshin Impact Mobile is 33 gigs. It's freaking massive. And the game is not decompressioned. So I think that's the reason why Genshin Impact Mobile is 33 gigs because the game is not decompressioned. So I think that because when it comes to Withering Waves updating new versions or updating in general, it does decompress every time you do an update. And it makes it so that way the game won't be too large on mobile because a lot of mobile games now are becoming larger and larger. But what the company needs to do with their mobile games is decompression the updates is what they need to do and Genshin Impact Mobile, they do not decompression their game's eternal data, and why the game is 33 gigs on mobile for Genshin Impact. I mean, that's quite big, but I got room for it, of course, but that's not the point. What the point is that because the 25 gigs on mobile for Withering Waves for decompressing the data size is what they're doing is they're trying to give the game more gigs but decompression the size so your phone can fit that data storage from that game. And I think that's very smart for Kuru Games to actually do that for Withering Waves is to decompression their data size, which is very smart. Genshin Impact, Hoyoverse, they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do that yet. That's why their game is 33 gigs on mobile, like I said before. But like I said, there's one way to update the game for 25 gigs if your phone has 64 gigs of internal storage or under that. You're gonna have to transfer it to an SD card to update the game in an APK file, and you're just gonna have to do it like that if you want to continue playing Withering Waves. But unless you can find a way to do it from Google Play as the game file, like you transfer the installed game to your SD card to order the update. It's possible, but it only works for certain phones because not every phone can do that. Um, but the thing is that, yeah, 25 gigs is quite a bit large. I do agree with the people on this. It is seem like it's a huge problem, but it's only to a problem with people with lower internal storage, because 128 gigs is pretty big, and I got tons of storage for that, but that's not the point. um and 60 gigs for PC is quite enormous, man. I ain't gonna lie, that's big. 60 gigs, man. I cannot even imagine the mobile game to even be 60 gigs on mobile. That's gonna be rough. That's gonna be rough, man. I'm so glad that Android devices, when it comes to mobile games, that these games are really not supposed to get 60 gigs and 40 gigs, because that would be way too big for a mobile game, just to be honest with you. But I mean, for Withering Waves to have 25 gigs is pretty good. That's much better than Genshin Impact's data size. Like, you know what I mean? And hopefully, we will never get to see a mobile game reaching 40 gigs. I do not want to see a mobile game reaching 40 gigs. That's going to be way too high for a mobile game. They're going to have to decompression that size much, much higher, which means they're going to have to make it much, much lower on the size by decompressing it. And if they keep doing that for every update, the game won't be too large. It'll be minimized. So that's why Withering Waves Mobile for the Android version is only 25 gigs for the update storage for 2.0 for Renacita. I think it's okay. So once the update comes for Withering Waves 2.0 update, it's going to be 25 gigs of eternal storage update, but it's going to decompression to 20. I'm going to say between 22 and 23, maybe lower. It could be jumped to 22 at its lowest. Yeah, I'm probably going to say around 22 or 23. Close. It'll be close to 25. Because here's the thing. It's going to update to 25 gigs, but it's going to decompression it. So it won't be maximized to 25 gigs. It will be actually dropped to 22 to 23. Close. It's going to be close. So I would say between 22.60 or it'll be close, but it won't be too low and it won't be too high. It'll be minimized. Trust me. Because the game decompressions when there's a new version for the game for Wuthering Waves, because they do know how to decompression their size, which is good. So the game is going to update to 25 gigs and it'll decompression to around 22, 23, which means the game's enormous size won't actually make it to 25 gigs. It'll be close to it. But yeah, what do you guys think for this crazy update for Wuthering Waves? To be honest, it's not that bad for the mobile version. It's not that bad, but for the PC is horrible. The update for 2.0 for PC players is horrible. 60 gigs is too freaking high. They need to decompression that. That's way too high for PC. Unless you have a PC that is, have 2 terabytes or 3 terabytes or 4 terabytes. How many terabytes you have? you got plenty of space. But then again, I quite understand why players are furious about the update for PC is 60 gigs. I mean, that's rough, man. That's rough. iOS devices, iPhone 13, iPad with A15, Bionic, and processors. Okay, 6 gigs of RAM. And for Android, it's still the same. Actually, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 to 3. They never really put that first until later on the updates. But okay. So Snapdragon or MediaTek processors can only be in this game that gives access. So if you have a phone and you do not have Snapdragon processor or MediaTek processors or an Apple processor, you cannot play Wuthering Waves on a phone that does not have these chipsets. If you have a phone that does not have a Snapdragon chipset or if a MediaTek chipset, if you don't have any of those chipsets, you're not allowed to access the game. Which is pretty sad, but you know. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Peace out.